Bonjour mes amis, it is Sophia Beaumont again, returning with the next chapter of The Spider's Web. Today we will be reading chapter 2. If you need to catch up on the prologue or chapter 1, check the cards up above. I'll have links there. I'll also have additional links down in the description bar, which will include my social media, buy links for the book, all that good stuff. Like I said, today we are reading chapter 2. This is the Kill It Till It Dies two-step. In all honesty, Aunt Izzy didn't have any more clue what to do with me than my parents, but she was at least willing to try. She didn't spend all her time telling me what I should and shouldn't do, or freaking out if I was alone for 5 minutes, though she always looked relieved afterward. She always offered an ear, but was willing to give me space when I needed it, which was most of the time. That night, Izzy went out to celebrate a friend's birthday. She said she'd be back by 10. I told her not to worry. I had my knitting and the first 5 chapters of her new manuscript to read. Once my ass hit the couch, I wasn't planning on moving up for anything. With a pint of Moose Tracks ice cream, a pair of socks, and the printout, I flopped down on her blue leather sofa and prepared for an indulgent evening alone. Well, except for Micah, but I let him have the remote and Izzy's chair, and there was a Firefly marathon on, so he was happy with his Space Cowboys. Or so I thought. Please stop staring at me. Sorry. He turned back to the television. I scrawled an S on the page since I was pretty sure that even in Izzy's fantasy world, pies weren't hung for their crimes. You're staring again. Sorry, I can't help it. What are you, some kind of supernatural stalker? He'd barely been out of sight for longer than it took me to go to the bathroom since I'd woken up in the hospital. The look he gave me was less than kind. I'm your guardian spirit. It's my job to watch over you. All the time? Yes. Can't you do something else? Not really. I've got a range, but, you weren't so bothered by it when you first started seeing me. That's because I was ignoring you, because I thought I was crazy and I was more concerned with an impending mental breakdown. You still think you're crazy. Yes, but I'm starting to make peace with it. Which in a way means you're not crazy. Probably. You're not very helpful. I'm very helpful. You just don't appreciate my many talents. Like what, channel surfing? Micah gave a sniff of mock offense. Just because you don't appreciate Joss Whedon doesn't mean the rest of us are lacking in taste. Really? And what about all of that late-night TV you watch? I know Izzy isn't the one watching Star Trek and old Judy Garland movies at 3 a.m. Hey, the best stuff is on after midnight. Right, so how was that infomercial for the Chop-O-Matic last night? It was the Super Chop-O-Matic, for your information, and it was surprisingly entertaining. Besides, what else am I going to do while you're asleep? I rolled my eyes and went back to my sock and my reading, but Micah was now officially ignoring the adventures of the Serenity and her crew. Stop it. Stop what? You're grinning at me. I'm smiling, and contrary to what you seem to believe, a smile does not make a person untrustworthy. Whatever. Why are you smiling at me like a crazy person? He shrugged. Well, you're talking to... Ah! I threw down my knitting, swatting at the back of my neck. What is it? Micah demanded. In an instant, he was right beside me. Something bit me. I could feel tiny legs on my skin. I brushed it off, flipping my hair over my head to shake it out. A hairy black spider, the size of a nickel, landed on the hardwood floor. I screamed and stomped on it with my flip-flop. What is going on with these stupid spiders? I've been seeing them all over the place. I touched the back of my neck where a welt was already forming. I ran to the bathroom and used Izzy's compact to try and get a better look at it. You don't think it's poisonous or anything, do you? I think it's worse than poisonous, Micah said, his eyes on the floor. I looked down. From a tiny gap where the baseboard met the floor, a line of spiders emerged. I screamed and stomped on them, but then there were more, from under the cupboard, behind the medicine chest, in through the window. From every crevice they came, and my dollar store sandals couldn't keep up. I'm crazy now, right? Please tell me this is a hallucination, I cried, stumbling out of the bathroom. There were more in the hallway, crawling down the walls and out from under the carpet. They swarmed under my feet, landed on my arms. They bit faster than I could brush them away. There was a sudden burst of light from my left, and a chunk of spiders vanished. Evie, they're not real. They're constructs. I don't know what that means, but make them go away. Sobbing hysterically was a good response, right? Concentrate. They're made out of spiritual energy, just like me. You can make them go away. I was in tears by this point. My skin was inflamed, red and itchy and sore all over. I could hardly breathe, but I couldn't tell if it was from panic or the bites. Another burst of light, but it wasn't enough. They just kept coming. Micah stepped in front of me and grabbed my arms. Evie, look at me. Silver gray eyes filled my vision. You have to calm down. You can do this. Just picture a circle of white light all around you. Nothing can get past. I can't. You can. Now listen to me. He gave me a shake just once, just hard enough to get my attention. I squeezed my eyes shut and tried to do what he said. Are you picturing it? Now put everything you've got into it. Tiny legs all over me, biting, eating away my whole body, under my clothes, in my ears, in my mouth. I can't. Just go away! The shrill scream tore from my throat. Something in my head shattered and I went weak-kneed, leaning on Micah. When I opened my eyes, they were gone. I was left exhausted with only a few bites on my arms and legs. I thought you said they weren't real, I said, cringing at a particularly nasty-looking one. Most of them weren't. I think there must have been a few, just nearby ones, that answered the call, but most of them were just an illusion, for lack of a better word. A very powerful illusion. He pushed my hair back from my face. He looked as relieved as I felt. What was that? Why were they here? Damn it, I was going to start crying again. I'd already done too much of that today. I don't know, but they're gone now. We'll find a way to keep them from coming back. I was still shaking. I need a shower and bug spray. Lots and lots of bug spray. Micah started to object, but closed his mouth. I looked over his shoulder into the bathroom. Not that shower. Izzy would have to forgive me for using the master bath just this once. There was no way I was taking off my clothes in there. In fact, I might not ever be able to use it again for anything. Once I was showered and at least resembling a sane human being again, though there was still a twitch above my right eye that I feared might be permanent, I grabbed my purse and headed out the front door. It was getting late, but the dépanneur at the end of the street would still be open. I just hoped they had industrial-sized cans of Raid. Micah, as always, trailed along beside me. He seemed to be deep in thought, and I was still jumping at shadows, so we didn't talk much for the first block or two. Izzy lived in an affluent part of Montreal called Outremont. Just north of Mount Royal, it was as close as you could get to the mountain without living in the cemetery at its base. Outremont was full of brick and stone row houses and pristine Victorians with actual yards surrounded by huge maple and oak trees. Izzy's place was actually a duplex, one of those Victorians chopped up into apartments. Izzy had the top floor and technically the attic, but as far as I knew, the only thing she used it for was storing out-of-season clothes and the stuff she was too lazy to put in the yard sale she always claimed she was going to have but never got around to. Anyway, Outremont was a quiet neighborhood. Lots of older residents and families, and a lot of immigrants and second or third generation Canadians. During daylight hours, you were as likely to hear German, Russian, and Yiddish on the street as you were the standard English and French. One of the draws of Outremont was that it had the largest percentage of Anglophones on the island, which I guess was the reason Izzy picked it. My French was good, but not great, and even I flinched every time she had to order a pizza or ask for directions. She had the vocabulary, but her accent would make anyone who had even a passing familiarity with French cringe. The quiet neighborhood pretty much shut down after dark unless it was a holiday, so I was wary when I spotted a figure coming toward me. It wasn't quite dark enough for the street lamps to come on, but I could tell it was a man. Instantly, I was on high alert. I walked faster and considered crossing the street. With my nerves still completely fried, everything was a threat. He was walking toward me, and that could only mean one thing. Evie, calm down. Micah's hand brushed mine. I sucked in a breath. Hey, it's you again. The figure waved, a huge grin splitting his shadowed face. A few more steps, and he passed into the last vestiges of sunlight as they vanished behind the trees. I stopped, completely aghast. It was Psychology Boy. God, you must think I'm following you or something. I swear I'm not. But 3 times in one day? That's gotta be fate or something, right? His eyes crinkled when he smiled. He had big brown eyes like one of those giant dogs that looks like it could swallow you whole but would rather curl up in your lap all night. His long, curly, dark ponytail made me think of a poodle at first, which made me snort in an attempt not to laugh. I tried to turn it into a cough, but somehow Micah must have caught the image because then he started laughing. And then I sounded like I was dying because I was trying not to picture Adam Gold with a poodle's butt on his head. Are you okay? He asked, sounding like he was rethinking his position on my sanity again. Yeah, I'm fine, really. I turned slightly so I couldn't see Micah. He had the good sense to stay out of view. What are you doing here? Oh, I live just down this way near the university, just on my way home from work. He gestured at his red polyester vest, his name written on a piece of masking tape on the left breast. You haven't worked there long, have you? How can you tell? It's the name tag, isn't it? No, I'm in Chan's all the time, and I've never seen you. I just started this week, trying to get a head start on a summer job. I'd almost forgotten that it was June and classes would be letting out in 2 weeks. 9 months ago, I'd just been starting at the University of Toronto. I shuddered at the memory. I didn't want to think about 9 months ago. Despite my paranoia, once I started talking to Adam, I realized he was probably the most non-threatening person I'd ever met. He exuded such a laid-back, calm attitude that it was impossible not to relax at least a little in his company. He put me at ease. Oddly enough, Micah did almost the exact same thing, but in a different way. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching. The hair on the back of my sore neck stood at attention, and I felt eyes boring into my back. Is something wrong? Adam asked, catching my discomfort. I'm fine, I said. Do you want me to walk with you? He asked. I held back, then consented. If you wouldn't mind, I'm not going far, just to the dep. Making me go back to work already, he sighed theatrically. Something rustled behind us, and I jumped. Sorry, I'm a little bit wound up tonight, I guess. No worries, it was probably just a raccoon or something. Adam offered me his arm, my knight in shining polyester. I could practically feel Micah rolling his eyes behind me and shot him a look over my shoulder. What is wrong with you? I mouthed. He shook his head and didn't respond. Adam and I chatted as we continued our journey. Or rather, he talked and I listened. I learned he was originally from a small town outside of Vancouver, but had moved to Montreal in high school because of his dad's job. He was actually going to McGill to study psychology, but the duplex he shared with 3 other students was nearby. Outremont was adjacent to the Université de Montréal, and there was a lot of student housing along the fringes, especially the further west. Izzy's place was right on the edge, and I suspected it was the reason she could afford to live there. The feeling didn't go away. I tried to tell myself to be calm. I was imagining things, but when I looked back, I saw Micah appeared on edge too, and was also looking behind us. So you're not a Quebecer either, are you? Adam asked, politely ignoring my anxiety, or maybe trying to distract me from it. No, I just came out here a few months ago. I've been living with my aunt. Do you go to school here? No. Damn, I was one hell of a conversationalist, wasn't I? No wonder I'd made so many friends in Montreal. If Adam intended to continue his line of questioning, I didn't find out because the next second something was flying at my head. I threw myself on the ground, taking Adam with me. What the hell? The thing came back for a second round. An owl. An enormous brown owl with huge glowing golden eyes. It drove straight at my face with a screech, claws catching in my hair and tearing out a chunk. I screamed and felt blood on my hand when I touched my scalp. Adam took off his vest and tried to swat at it, but it was ineffectual. The bird came back a third time, claws extended. Gripping the long strap of my purse, I swung it up and missed. I tried to summon the light I had used in the bathroom, but I couldn't. It was moving too fast, and if I stopped to think, it would get us. A second bird joined the first. What is wrong with the animals here? I shouted, taking a swing at the newcomer. Micah! I can't do anything. They're real birds, he said, watching helplessly from the sidelines. He tried to shoo them away, but it was about as effective as a no-smoking sign in a Montreal cafe. One of the birds snapped at him, but its beak passed through his hand like it wasn't even there. My purse finally connected with one of them, knocking it dazed to the sidewalk. The other was apparently trying to pull out Adam's eyes. Come on! I grabbed his arm and dragged him to his feet, setting off at a run in any direction that didn't involve a psychotic owl. I can only imagine how we must have looked to anyone who happened to peer out their window at that moment. A couple running from a pair, and then a trio of owls in an otherwise quiet street in one of the biggest cities in North America. With no thought for direction or destination, I ran as fast as I could. Once he had his balance, Adam easily could have outrun me, but instead he grabbed my hand, pulling me along with him. I stumbled, trying to match his longer strides. My arms, already covered in at least half a dozen spider bites, had been torn open by claws and beaks. I could hardly see where I was going from the wings beating in my face. I managed another good hit with my purse and broke free from the birds. I bolted, running flat out for several meters. I spared a second to glance back over my shoulder to see if they were following, and landed face first on the grass. A low growl emanated from somewhere in the vicinity. I covered my head, pressing myself to the ground as best I could. The owl shrieked. A dog snarled, and Adam shouted. I rolled over in time to see him stumbling through the fence, collapsing on the thick, grassy lawn of Mount Royal Cemetery. At the gate, an enormous black dog growled and pounced, taking one of the birds from the air and tearing it to shreds in a matter of seconds. The other two fled. Adam lay panting on his back, barely a meter from the dog, who was making quick work of its prey. He crawled backwards, catching sight of me. I froze, crouched behind a tombstone. Deciding the dog was suitably occupied, Adam scrambled to his feet and joined me. Could this night get any weirder, I wondered, partially to myself and partially to the world at large. I don't know, but we need to get out of here, Adam said. He clutched my arm. I wasn't sure if it was a protective gesture or if he was simply as scared as I was. Belching feathers, the dog finished with its snack and turned in our direction. Do you think we can outrun it? He asked. It was a really, really big dog, at least waist high on me, and I'm above average height for most women. I doubt it. Don't worry, Micah said. It won't hurt you. Don't tell me it's not a real dog, I snapped. There was no way. If it wasn't real, then how had he eaten the bird? Why would I tell you it's not real? Adam asked, panic in his voice. Great. Now he figures out I'm crazy. I wasn't talking to you. The dog yawned and trotted over to us like nothing was wrong. Adam and I stood frozen, afraid moving would incur its wrath, but we needn't have worried. It walked straight up to Micah, bumping his hand with its enormous head. Micah obliged by scratching behind the floppy ears. The dog's tail and back leg twitched happily. Adam dropped my arm, backing away. His eyes were the size of dinner plates, and he was staring directly at Micah. Who? Ghost! Adam, look out! His knees caught the back of a low headstone, and he flipped backward over the marker. Are you okay? I stood over him. He lay panting on the ground. I could almost see little animated stars dancing around his head. I thought there was a ghost. I swear, I thought I saw someone, this guy in a leather jacket. I glanced over at Micah. He looked the same to me, just as real as always. You can see him? Adam's mouth worked. He looked ridiculous, with his legs still draped over the headstone. Micah came to join us. When he saw Micah and the dog, Adam tried to get up, but a vicious wreath tied him down. He shook his leg in a vain attempt to get it off. He did succeed in knocking over a little vase of flowers, however, and cracked his shin against the stone marker so hard I winced. I won't hurt you. With one hand on the dog's head, Micah placed a hand on Adam's shoulder. At first, I thought Adam would start screaming again, but my new friend just took a deep breath and slowly sat up, pulling flowers off his ankles. You can see him. You can really see him, I asked, kneeling beside Adam. If Adam could see him, then it meant I wasn't nuts, right? Yeah, I can see him. Micah smiled at us, patting the dog's head. Like I tried to tell you earlier, this dog won't hurt you. She belongs to Hecate, the keeper of the spirit realm. That's why you can see me, he said, nodding to Adam. She's a link between this world and the next. We're in her territory now. He gestured at the graveyard. Who are you? Adam stuttered, still wary. My name is Micah. I'm a friend of Evie's. Adam looked at me for clarification. It's a long story. Yeah, not so much in clarification at the moment. So you're like a ghost, then? Kind of. I could see him making an effort not to give Adam the same exasperated speech I'd had to sit through so many times. I'm a spirit. It's like being a ghost, except I was never alive. I'm a guardian. Adam still looked confused and more than a little terrified. He won't hurt you, I said. He's been following me around for months, and he's never done anything bad. He's just a little annoying. Hey! Well, you are. Adam nodded. Okay. Spirits. Ghosts. Okay. Not what I was expecting. He took another deep breath. I put a hand on his arm. Can you please not do that right now, he said, pulling away slightly. I'll admit, I was kind of hurt. Here I was trying to help, and he brushed me off. Micah looked at me, giving an almost unperceivable shake of his head. Between us, Adam covered his face with his hands, taking long, slow breaths. I leaned back and let him have some space. It's nothing to be frightened of, Micah said. You knew I was here all along. Before I could ask how that was even possible, Adam was nodding. Yeah, but seeing and sensing are two different things. I raised my hand. I'm confused. Adam is an empath, Micah said, like it was the most obvious thing in the world. You're not the only one with special abilities. I do not... Okay, there had been the thing with the spiders. I hadn't really been able to process that yet. We are having a major talk when we get home. Home. Izzy. Shit. Okay, so that is it for chapter 2. If you're looking forward to chapter 3, make sure that you subscribe and hit that bell. Feel free to leave a comment. I'm always open to answering any questions you might have. And don't forget to check out the social media links in the description box below. You'll also find links to my Amazon store and my Etsy store as well. So I hope you guys enjoy your night and check back soon for the next chapter. Ciao!